Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about everything thrifty and frugal and money saving. And today I'm trying my best not to be gloomy. I'm looking out the window. I've been out with the dog. I'm just looking now at relentless rain. It's just doesn't stop. Well, we had a day yesterday where it was sunny and that was absolutely fabulous, even though it was cold. And it's very gloomy, and then you turn on the TV and watch the news, and that's very, very gloomy too. They say that January is the month we're most depressed. I can't remember which day of the year is the one we're most depressed on, but you can see how it gets to you, especially with all the terrible news all the time about how bills are going to go up and inflation is on the rise and that kind of thing. And if we're already on a small budget, which we are, and you're already having to watch every penny, then you start to worry about, how you're going to manage and what you're going to do. And for me, I think they're calling this the year of the squeeze. And sometimes I think I've been squeezed enough already, but I'm thinking a year of extreme frugality is probably the way to go. I'm not exactly, I'm fairly frugal anyway. Some people would class me as extremely frugal already. But so I think really making a concerted effort. And I have this uppermost in my mind, but still, I am not perfect. And I find myself just tempted. Just this morning, we went to the post office to post some bits that we'd sold on eBay and some returns. And it was very cold and we're standing in the rain. And I said to Justin, oh, we could just pop into that coffee shop on the way past. I'd really like to go and get a coffee. And he said, you'll end up having something to eat as well. Do you really want to spend £15 when we've got coffee at home? And I thought, well, I've trained him well, because there was a time when he wouldn't have said that. But, everybody, you get like that, don't you? Want to do something to cheer yourself up. And I'm not doing that. So they're talking about the highest rate of inflation for a decade, I think I read yesterday. Things are not going to get easier. I think it's saying utility bills for the average household in the UK could go up by £600 a year. And when you haven't got a massive income, that's significant, isn't it? So I'm thinking extreme frugality, and here are some of the things that I am going to do in order to save as much money as possible and still reach the financial goals that I mentioned in my previous vlog. I still want to reach those. I don't want to just be grappling with bills, and I certainly don't want to get any kind of debts going. So here's some ideas anyway. This is what I'm going to be doing. So number one on my list will be to use the wood burner as much as possible to heat just one room, do all my work and as much as I can do in that one room, particularly when I am on my own in the house. There's no point in heating the whole house during the day. I'm the only one that's here all the time. So then I just don't need to heat anything other than that one room. And the wood we have currently was free. Justin and his brother collected it from various places, actually. They got a whole load from somebody's garden. They do things like help people trim their trees and cut trees down, and then they take the wood, which is a fair exchange, isn't it? Work for wood. So we've got a load of that, luckily. So that's free. That's free heat. And I know some people don't like wood burners and say, they're not very eco-friendly. We got ours when they were saying, wood is carbon neutral, waste wood is what you need to burn, and that kind of thing, thinking we were actually being more eco-friendly. So I actually don't really know what stance to take. I know it creates a little bit of local pollution, but any form of heat that you create is going to create some pollution, maybe not locally, but, they're looking at building more nuclear power stations, which I think is disastrous, really. So I think having a wood burner going when it's freezing during the day rather than heating the whole house with the gas boiler is a better option. And so to that end, I'm going to be doing more things like collecting a bit of kindling as I go. Not reserves. On the reserves, the wood that's there can't be picked up. It's there to help nature. But if I'm somewhere where there's just a load of twigs, I'll pick them up and bring them home for kindling. And waste wood that people have put in skips. If there's some planks and things in skips, I shall be asking if I can take some of them, if we can burn them, if they've got no varnish on them and that kind of thing, we might be able to burn them. I'm already really strict about turning lights off. I've only turned the light on now because it's so dull to film. And, only putting the heating on when absolute necessary. I've turned all the thermostats down. I have changed the timings. I think it used to be that the heating came on for an hour and a half in the morning. Now I've set it to come on as my lodger gets out of bed. She gets up quite early to go to her job. The hot water a little bit before, in case she wants a shower. She doesn't usually in the morning. Just to give the house a blast just for 45 minutes, and then I try not to put that on at all until the evening, and then it will pop on about 4:45 just before she gets home. And then in the evening, again, if it's just us, we'll just have the fire. But if the lodger is here, we will put the heating on. We'll blast it for an hour here and there rather than having it on continuously though. So we're just trying to keep the cost down as much as possible. Only boil as much water as we need when we put the kettle on. If I'm going to use the oven and it's for several things at once, that's fine. Try to cook to make maximum use of the oven and cook more than one thing at the same time. If it's just one thing, like for example, if I was cooking a piece of fish to have with some salad, it's much quicker to do that in the air fryer anyway, so therefore it'd be cheaper. So I can look at that, or doing things in the microwave because that's quicker again. Or if I'm doing something like a casserole, using the slow cooker because it costs very little to run, so it's a very economical way to do it. So anyway, that's my plan, to try and keep our energy bills low, and mainly that's just to keep that wood fire burning. And my next one is around having a bath and saving water. I've said before, I just love a bath. It's like, just feels like an ultimate luxury to have a long, deep bubble bath and just relax in it. And I'm not saying I'm never going to do that, but I've got into the habit of doing that really much more often than I used to. I mean, in the summer, I hardly ever have a bath, but in the winter, it's so cold, I get a bit achy, and having a bath is lovely. But there are a few reasons not to do that, one of which is to save water. Obviously, it saves heating the water as well. So if I have a bath, I'll then have to put the boiler on again because our tank's quite small and we'll have to reheat a load of water. So a quick shower, the boiler won't have to come on again and it will save water. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And if I do have a bath, I mean, not this time of year, if I do have a bath and there are plants that need to be watered outside, then I will be using some of the water for that, getting some washing up bowls of, as long as I haven't put anything nasty in the water, it's fine, isn't it? But looking outside now, that just seems quite hilarious to do that. We do have water butts, so they will be filling up nicely right now, so there will be another way of saving water as well in the summer. So that's the next thing, saving water. Number 3 of my things I'm going to be doing more of during my year of extreme frugality will be to go out appropriate times to find the yellow sticker reductions. So I do mainly shop in Lidl, sometimes at Aldi. They do occasionally have yellow stickers, or they're orange stickers actually, in Lidl. They don't often have them in Aldi, I don't see them very often. But just recently, you may have seen on some of my other hauls, me and my daughter have managed to find some really amazing bargains in Asda. If you go in at the right time, they really reduce them right down. And I've heard other people say that they found a similar thing in Morrison's and Tesco's as well. So that's going to be something I'm going to try to do more of. It does involve going over in the direction of Asda and making a special journey though. So I have to kind of weigh that up. If I don't get much success, then it's probably not worth going over there. Or if I can combine it with going to visit my older daughter, she lives over that way, rather than making a long, it's not a long journey, but it's over the other side of town to do it. And just finding the best times to do the yellow stickers and really focusing on that. So Sunday afternoons, I think 3 o'clock is quite a good time. I mean, the reason we had such success was because there were so many bank holidays and there were times when the supermarket was actually going to be closed. And I think, thinking about it, there's only about 3 of those a year now, aren't there? I think they close on Easter Sunday, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and that's it. They're open all of the other days. So even some places are open on those days. I think it's nice for the staff to just, none of them have to go in occasionally to have something that's shut. But if I can work that out, I can save myself a lot of money. So that is what I'm going to try to do. I do use the Olio app, and I will be using that, trying to get the habit of looking again, as I used to actually, every evening. The problem I find with Olio is that it tends to be a lot of bread products, but not exclusively. So it's really a question of just keeping an eye out and being, not just taking everything because it's free, only really getting what I want. I don't want a load of bread products. At the moment I am eating gluten-free anyway. Whether that will continue all year, I don't know. So but that's going to be another part of my plan. I have used Too Good To Go as well, but I think if we had a local Morrison's, I would definitely be trying to get their Too Good To Go bags because they look like useful things and groceries. A lot of the other Too Good To Go magic bags seem to be pastries and sandwiches and things that I'm not going to eat a lot of, and very late at night as well. So you have to go about 9 o'clock and you have to plan to be eating them the next day because they're normally on their last day. But they are useful. They're great. I mean, they would be brilliant if you've got kids, students who are going to college, you want to take a lunch with them, or you want to take a packed lunch yourself. It's probably still cheaper to pack your own lunch, so having said that, but it probably wouldn't be so fancy. If we had a food pantry locally, I would definitely check that out. I know from my Facebook group, there are certain areas where people have these pantries and they're like community larders as well. And you can just go along and help yourself. It's all waste food from the local shops. And a couple of them come back with like a full shop for free. And I think, oh gosh, the money that would save if I could do that. But we don't have one, so I can't do that. There's one on the way to my parents though, so I really should check that out sometime and see if that's possible. It's only a tiny one, but I might do that. But I suggest if you've got one in your local area, you check it out because you can save lots of money. And if you're feeling the pinch during this year of the squeeze, then every little will definitely help. So the next thing on my list, as you might expect if you've been following my channel or my blog or my Facebook group for some time, will be to buy secondhand. So I did a whole year of exclusively secondhand. I didn't buy anything new for the whole of 2021, and it was a lot easier than I expected. Actually, it was a lot easier than anticipated. I'm not going to have that hard and fast rule this year. There have been some things that I have bought in the sales new because I didn't manage to pick them up secondhand, and I know that there are going to be some things as you go through the year that might be better if I can buy new but good quality, if I can afford to do that. It's also possible to buy secondhand of good quality, of course, so that will be my default position still. If I can get secondhand, then I will, and it really does save you an awful lot of money. So especially if you're looking at extreme frugality, once you start, some people would be kind of would poo-poo it and be appalled maybe at the idea of you always having someone else's cast-offs. But, you know, the money you save, it's really well worth it. So if you're feeling the squeeze and you want to do a year of extreme frugality, buying second-hand is really a good move. So number 5 is to track my spending religiously down to the penny. This is something that I did years ago. I used to always have a little notebook in my handbag and I would write down every small purchase that I made, and it really did help when times were really tight. And I think that's going to be another year like that. So things are going up. I can't just do a rough budget for the month and then I generally know, roughly what I'm spending in each category. So I'm fairly confident I don't tend to go over budget, but I want to really see and really notice how much more I am spending on things such as petrol and just miscellaneous bits and pieces that I buy when I'm out, groceries and that kind of thing. I want to keep a real eye on it. And I think the only way to do that would be to track my spending. So I'm going to get back to that habit, not just budgeting, but really tracking and seeing where every penny is going. That's what I would like to do. And I'm using, this was recommended by Jane, Frugal Queen in France. I don't know if you've seen her channel, worth subscribing if you haven't. She uses this budget book and I thought that looked like a really nice one. So I invested in one for this year. And it's a really nice one because it's got all your income and outgoing, all the kind of things you would expect, but it's also got quite lots of space for you to track your spending and write down all of your individual spending. And if you don't have time to write them all down, it's got a little pocket for your receipts. You can shove them in there and write them down when you've got time. I'm actually doing it daily, which is easy enough to do because I'm not spending very much. So if you've got kids and you find that you're spending lots here and there, maybe that you just need to keep all your receipts or keep them in digital form and have a look and go through when you've got time. So I think tracking your spending is a really kind of crucial part of really sticking to a tight budget, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So number 6 will be to have at least 2 no spend months during the course of the year. I usually kick off the year with a no spend January. This year, because of how I've already explained about needing a few things and wanting to buy them in the sales, it didn't seem appropriate to do a no spend January. So I am doing a frugal February, a no spend February. It's going to be my first no spend month, and I'll probably do one October or November, kind of in the run up to Christmas. So probably October, I think. So I'll see. But no spend periods are really useful for kind of retraining your brain to question all of your spending, like this morning with me with my coffee. Just having a hard and fast rule kind of takes the pressure off. It seems to, for me anyway. I know that I'm having a no spend month. If somebody says to me, "Oh, can we go to the pub? Do you fancy coming to the pub with us?" I can say, "No, sorry, I can't come. I'm on a no spend month because I am saving my money for a particular purpose," or whatever. You can say what you want, really. Just say I'm on no spend month, full stop. What you find is that people are interested and they ask you questions and then they think about doing it as well. I just find it's a really good time to reset your brain and reset your finances. So it could be a no spend week to start with. Some people I know challenge themselves to so many no spend days, but I find that's too complicated. I can't remember what day I'm on, and sometimes I just need to go grocery shopping and I don't only have a certain day that I can do it. So I don't like to micromanage it quite like that. I would rather have a hard and fast rule for the month. I'm not spending except on necessities. So February is going to be my first no spend month, and I'll do another one later in the year. Number 7 on my list of frugal things to do this year is meal planning and batch cooking as well. I plan to do more of that this year. I can't stress enough how much money meal planning will save you if you don't do it already. It takes 10 minutes. People think, "Oh, it's a faff and I can't be bothered." But it saves you loads of time as well. I mean, I couldn't believe how much time it saved me when I started doing it, because, you think, well, I've got a specific thing, I've got a late meeting on that day. That's the day when I might go for a takeaway because I think I'm too tired when I get home from work, I'm going to have a takeaway. If I've planned a meal and it may be that I've just got some leftovers out of the freezer in the morning, so I've got a meal ready to go in the microwave when I come home, something like that. Or you might have a late football practice with the children, or those kind of things. You can plan those things in. Of course, you also plan to use what's already in your house, so you look at what needs using up first in the fridge and incorporate those into your meals. You look at what you've got a lot of in your larder. Perhaps you've got 100 cans of chickpeas. You think, well, I've got too many of those. Let's make a bit of space, use some of the chickpeas up, make a curry, whatever. So it enables you to do that and rotate things as well. So you might have a lot of bags of pasta. Some are sitting at the back. You like to keep a store of them, but they've been there since, 2016. You think, well, yeah, you've got to use them. You've got to rotate them. Personally, I think it's good to have some stores, but not so much that you're preparing for Armageddon. That's my own personal choice. So it stops you wasting anything. You don't waste food if you've planned to use it and incorporated it into your meal plans. That makes sense, doesn't it? You're not going to waste it. The times in the past where before I got a bit more savvy with money, would wander around the supermarket with my trolley and no list, just a vague idea like we needed some milk, maybe we need some cheese, and you're going around and you think, I don't know if we've got any spaghetti, and you end up buying stuff you've already got and you can't get it back in your cupboards. It's just madness to do that. Spending money you don't need to spend, taking much more time than you need to spend in the supermarket. I like to whiz around and get it all done. So having a meal plan, having done a shopping list, will save you time as well and stress in the supermarket. That's not to say I'm not flexible about the meal plan. So if I go into the supermarket and find a load of really reduced stuff and I can quickly incorporate it into the next day's meal, then I'm going to do that. Or I can put it in the freezer and forget about it for next week. But it just makes so much sense to meal plan. And the other thing, as I said, I'm going to batch cook a bit more. I do that now, but I don't plan to batch cook. So I won't say, well, I'm going to make 3 dishes and fill up the freezer. I will tend to think, well, it's only the 2 of us having a chicken casserole. I'm going to make double and I'll put some in the freezer, or we'll have some the day after. So I do that kind of small, minimal batch cooking. But I think with the cost of energy, cooking a lot of stuff in one go and then freezing it makes sense. And I know there's a couple of people on my Facebook group who said, oh yeah, but there's the cost of running your freezer. And I think, well, the cost of running your freezer is really minimal, maybe £50 a year, particularly if you keep it full, costs less. So I don't really understand why people are worried about that. It's pointless having a family size freezer if there's just one of you, but you could have a freezer, and I think freezers save you money in the long run, because you can pick up all of those short date bargains and yellow stickers and things as well. And I've already mentioned that I'm going to do more slow cooking and air frying as well, so that will be part of that plan too. So number 8 on my list is about mental mindset. Well, what other sort of mindset can you get? It's about mindset, your financial mindset, and kind of discarding the idea that you need to keep accumulating and you need more and more and more, and just remembering that less is usually still enough for those of us who live in developed countries. When you consider that people live on so very much less than even the poorest people in our society have, and they live quite happily, and they just don't have the need, or they even realise that some people do have a need for endless stuff. This kind of consumerist attitude. If you remember that less is normally still more than enough, it can just make you stop being tempted by all of the things you see in magazines, or maybe you'll scroll through Instagram and you see these beautiful houses and these beautiful clothes, and you can get into the mindset that you want that, you would like that looks nice, I want to go on holiday there, I want to revamp my kitchen, I want to buy a new outfit, whatever. Just think about all of the things you already have. And the more you get, well, I personally find this anyway. I'm not a minimalist. I cannot be accused of being a minimalist, and people will laugh at the idea that I am. But I do find that the more I have, the more clutter accumulates, the more there is to kind of clean and tidy. It just creates stress, actually. I would never be a minimalist. I do understand the mindset, but I think it can go too far the other way, personally. But just making that choice to spend less and have less, and you find that there are a lot of positives. It's not just negatives. You're not just stopping yourself having the best. You don't need to have more of the best. You've probably got what you've got is probably adequate. So I think developing that kind of frugal mindset, I've said this before, is crucial. And if you can develop that, then it will just help you with your spending. You won't spend as much. Just remember, my mum and dad used to say, oh, remember those poor children in Africa, when I was demanding this, that and the other, normally not eating my dinner and that kind of thing. It actually, remembering other people who are less fortunate than you, not just in Africa, anywhere, that's a stereotype, but remembering there are people who have very much less, nearly always. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here on the internet, and I've got my laptop and I've got a phone, and I'm sitting at a table in a house that I can heat with light, and I'm warm and I'm safe. Those things, we take it for granted, and other people don't have those things. So that's something I'm going to try and keep in mind during my super frugal year. So number 9 is to not buy anything that isn't really essential. And whether I can stick to that is something else. I may not be able to stick completely to that, but I'm going to attempt it. But my coffee this morning, not buying it in the end, but if Justin hadn't been there, would I have bought it? That was not a good start, was it? It's only not even mid-January yet, is it? So I do need to get a grip on that. I am great at finding bargains in charity shops at boot sales, but what I have to do if I'm buying for myself is say, do I really need this? And can I afford it? And not just buy something because it's cheap, because then it's just more clutter and more stuff. If I'm going to sell it and make a profit, then that's another thing altogether, isn't it? But I have to watch myself. So I am really determined, bargain or not, I'm not going to buy stuff that I don't need. It's the pound shop's another place, isn't it? You go in the pound shop and think, I'll just go in and get deodorant and come out, and you've spent 40 quid. So I'm going to stop that. The final one on my list today is finding free stuff and finding free things to do. We're quite good at the free things to do thing already, because we spend a lot of time just walking. We like walking and exploring in our local area, so we don't even have to pay that much to travel. So I want to do as much of that as possible, and really get on some local Facebook groups and see what kind of free events are coming up and that kind of thing. That's always worth looking at. I know that a few years ago, before COVID hit, we had a few nice free sort of festivals developing locally, and nothing special, just local bands and with some food and that kind of thing. But it was lovely, nice atmosphere. So I want to keep my eyes open for those kind of things and see if they make a resurgence this year, particularly in the summer as the weather gets nicer, and make the most of things like our libraries and, free things, museums. We've got some free museums here, so things like that, just make the most of them, make the best of them, and use them on a nasty day. But also, as well as free activities, look at just getting freebies. I mean, we have Frugal, we have Freecycle, Facebook Marketplace can be a good source of freebies as well. We still have that culture that developed over lockdown of people putting stuff for free outside their houses. So I've got a little bedside table thing that my daughter doesn't want that I said I'd put out here. We have a bit passing traffic. So finding things and making the best of free stuff. Recently, my daughter just moved into a flat. You may know that if you saw my recent vlog. And I got a freezer for nothing by putting a request on Freecycle. So, I mean, don't make this one-way traffic. If you don't just always ask for things and never give things. If you are taking something from somewhere like Frugal or Freecycle, occasionally when you are getting rid of something, you're looking for something to go, do offer some things as well. It's actually really handy for bigger items because, you might need to otherwise get a tip, go down to the tip. And this saves things from going to the tip. It means you don't have to find a vehicle big enough to take them to the tip. So, and someone else might be able to get good use of it. So, yeah, things like that. It's really worth looking for freebies in your local area as well. So that could also be a bit of skip diving. I'm not confident enough to be a major skip diver. I know Charlotte Bayford, if you look at her channel, she does a lot local to me, and she's kind of very bold at doing it. I'm always nervous I'm going to get shouted at. However, I will look. If there's, if it's in someone's front garden and there's something, I would go knock on their door. We've pulled stuff out of skips before, but we've always asked permission first. I wouldn't really feel comfortable going outside shops and helping myself. So I know some people do, but I think it's a bit of a grey area legally, and sometimes it is illegal if you're on somebody else's property. So, but there's lots of things you can get free is my point, and I'm going to try and make the most of those. So anyway, that's just 10 things that I want to do during my year of extreme frugality to help me through the squeeze, and just really stretch the budget to the nth degree as best we can. It is worrying, isn't it, when you haven't got a lot of income coming in. Even if you've got a lot of outgoings, it's a worrying time, and you can spend a lot of time being anxious about it. And I prefer really just to think that I'm doing something positive and have a bit of a plan. So I would love to hear what your tips are, what kind of extreme frugality you're intending to practice this coming year, and your thoughts on, the way things are going, and whether you're worried, what your worries are and your anxieties. And don't forget, if you liked this video, to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you've got all the way to the end and you enjoy this sort of content, then do subscribe. And if you turn on your notifications bell, you'll be able to see when I publish next time. Anyway, I'm off now. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.